Hi, I'm Alessandra Antonelli.
I'm Joshua David Robinson.
I'm Darius Valentine.
My name is Tom Lake.
And I'm playing she.
And I'm playing the role of he.
I am the writer and director.
I wrote the music and lyrics for
It's On Me.
Scene 5, shots 1, 2, and 3. Take 3.
This all started with the idea of putting two very different characters in the same room together and really seeing how that played out.
He is this incredibly nervous, incredibly insecure guy, and he has this compulsive need to have control over the situation and what's happening, despite the fact that he does not have any control. He just is completely not grounded in the reality of the situation, overthinking everything and letting it destroy him. Very self-destructive kind of guy.
I think she really values novelty and adventure, and she's the type of person who loves fairy tales and loves the idea of fantasy, but doesn't believe that it's really achievable. I think when people watch the film that they may not like my character very much, I think everyone will definitely be rooting for he. And Josh does such a beautiful job of really making that character able to be empathized with.
I think the words he uses and his behavior is very, on a surface level, it's very nervous, he's very awkward, very insecure. What I love about this character are the moments that come through of when he does show the aspects of his life where he has control. When he's talking about being a director and that whole side of his life, it's very clear that he's not just completely this kind of crazy, not with it character. There are aspects of his life where he does have control.
The movie's good. Yeah, it really good actually. Yeah, I got it all edited. Just gotta get it color graded, color corrected, sound mix, mastered, VFX shots, get the score, and then yeah, it should be good to go.
When I first wrote this screenplay, it was just a drama. It was just two people talking to each other. But I've been in love with the movie musical genre for a very long time, so I figured out of all of the screenplays I've written, this is probably the one that would be best suited to be a musical.
As a person who has done musicals and films separately, it's really wonderful to get to undergo a process of both and working on both at the same time.
Putting these two very different mediums together, you gotta come from a very different headspace to project a story when it's musical theater on stage and it's you're bursting out into song, and now we're adding this element of like this intimate relationship between the actor and the camera.
I love, the subtlety of on-camera acting, but also the soul and the openness and vulnerability of singing and dancing that's able to bring through, and to have both at once is so cool.
It's been interesting. It's been fun to explore and figure out how to let this sort of fantasy element of musical theater play out in the truth of just dialogue and playing off my scene partner, and it's been fun. It's been a challenge.
It was very daunting for me to try and combine two different mediums, one of which I had never worked in before, so I really didn't know that this was going to be a true musical until Tom got on board.
Writing a musical was a little bit difficult for me. Not in the way that I didn't have anything creative that could be used, but more that it was just, I wasn't the one that was necessarily telling my story. It wasn't about the places I've been and what I wanted to tell someone else. It was taking somebody else's information and making sure that while continuing to be myself, I was still putting their story out.
Once Tom was on board, we had multiple meetings just going back and forth about my intentions and discussing the screenplay. And since I had written the entire screenplay as just a drama, there was no music written into the screenplay, I was able to actually point at specific pieces and be like, this is where I think the first song should be, second song, third song, and really point to that dialogue and say, hey, this is the intention of the song and this is what they're really trying to say to each other within that song. And then Tom was able to just take that and run with it and create some really beautiful music.
I began writing this on my guitar. I didn't have another way of conveying any of these ideas to Darius, so I would just sit there and think about the parts as best as I could, and the only thing I could do was play as many as possible for Darius at the same time.
Over the course of the writing process, Tom would be continuously recording voice memos and sending them to me of him singing, playing guitar, and trying to emulate as many other instruments as possible with his voice.
And that included me singing and beatboxing while I was playing guitar.
The most interesting was definitely the scratch track I got for the bathroom.
So the bathroom scene, the drum part, the idea was originally beatbox to Darius. He had no idea what that was, which was most of what the process was for him, me trying to tell him what I was going to be doing.
There would be times where I'd be like, Tom, what's going on here? Is he humming this? What is this? He'd be like, no, those are horns. Trust me. Once you hear it, you'll understand.
And trying to tell him, oh, this part lays on top of this one, just, it's going to work. Pretty unique that instead of composing this on a piano, I had to challenge myself just to make sure that Darius understood what everything meant. I think in the end he still didn't know what it was gonna be.
But I really only had the concept of the guitar and the vocals. So when I went to visit him in the studio while he was recording with Eric, it really was just this shock to get to hear the whole song for the first time.
This phone can't support anything. So that's the MIDI.
It's so weird not hearing you going, ba-ba!
She has like a second kind of counter melody in the chorus. Why don't we just sit down while he's going, it's on me. She goes in, I'll take the blame.
Definitely couldn't have done without Eric. He was a huge part both in recording and being a producer.
For my sake, I'm sorry that I made you feel like this was more than it really is. Why don't we just sit down?
I knew the casting process was going to be difficult because we were looking for two triple threat performers, someone who could sing, act, and dance all at the same time. And I think we got really lucky with finding Allie and Josh.
Darius had asked me if I wanted to be a part of the casting process, and I was extremely excited to be because this would be the first time somebody else was singing the music.
Traveling the country near and far, you don't seem to care what anyone thinks, as long as you're feeling happy, just like when you're dancing.
Cool, man. That's what I said to Josh after he had a mind-blowing performance. I didn't know what to say. I was so taken back.
Okay, yeah, cool.
But yeah, I completely sold him short on his performance.
I've cast multiple films, and I have never had the experience of knowing who my cast was going to be before I had finished the auditioning process. Allie and Josh were the first two people that we auditioned, and I knew right away that those were our stars.
A rehearsal, a musical. Sounds like we're in the 60s.
Usually with film, you don't rehearse a lot, and we, partially because of the musical elements, have done a lot of rehearsal and a lot of preparation.
No, I'm sorry, because I hate when people stare at me. It just makes me always so uncomfortable, and
I know it's rude, and so I'm sure and I'm just really sorry.
You don't need to keep apologizing to me.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Which has, allowed us to find a lot of nuances and figure out how to connect that, real world subtlety into the like fantastical element of singing.
But now we'll sing along
To a different
anything and everything I've ever tried to be.
And dancing.
I knew this movie wouldn't be a true musical without a dancing aspect to it, and that almost didn't happen until Michaela joined the project.
I have always thought of dance as the truest expression of someone's soul.
I had a lot of fun with that because it was just a complete stark contrast to everything else we were filming, and even in the lightest, happiest moments of the reality of the story, it's the choreography is definitely just a whole nother world inside my character's imagination, and it was a lot of fun.
Doing dance for the film, I feel like, is a very special way to express the fantasy element and the idealization of, what they wish could be.
I put those sequences in black and white to really separate them from the reality, but I also shifted the aspect ratio, something that I did a lot throughout the film, where I really used those anamorphic bars to really show the mindset of the character and how he feels that these self-imposed walls are closing in around him.
It was a lot of fun working with Darius. He has a very specific style of directing.
He creates this wonderful vibe and gives us the freedom to play on set, which is all you can really ask for.
I really felt like he allowed for me and Allie to just take off with the characters and explore and try things that don't work and change them and play around, and it was just a really good, healthy, very comfortable, creative collaboration.
I always like filming in long takes. I really think it allows for a much more natural flow between the characters, but I knew that this film was going to need that energy of the editing. So what I did in order to preserve that was I made sure that we were recording with 3 cameras at all times to make sure to capture every angle possible so that we could preserve those little natural moments between the characters that we would have lost if we had been filming one side at a time.
When she says, "You don't have to keep apologizing to me," and he says, "Oh, right, yeah, I'm so," and like totally like instinctively starts to apologize, which just, it feels like such a real moment, of course, and they get to share this little giggle about just this cute, funny little interaction, but it's also so real.
As soon as I knew I was making a musical, I never even considered doing it any other way than recording the vocals live on set.
To a different song.
Yeah, that was stressful. Just because, as much as I love live performances, I've been such a fan of them. We did everything in the studio, and it was mind-blowing for me to think that not only could they sing this well, but they were going to be acting at the same time. And in the end, I'm really happy we did it this way.
It's such an interesting and unique experience because you really get to allow the nuances of your performance to show through in your voice.
I think there's just a lot more truth in what plays out on camera, and it balances that contrast between musical theater and on-camera acting, and I think that's like kind of the perfect way to blend the two together. Is we're just committing to the fact that, okay, now we're telling the story by breaking out into song. Me and Allie there's this banter back and forth. It's very lighthearted and it's very sweet, and there's a moment where my character thinks he's really just insulted her and kind of crossed the line, and he sort of starts spiraling again and retreats back into all those old habits of, it's just, oh, it's a car crash, I ruined it. But the way that me and Allie were just playing off of each other on set, it was a lot of fun. It was just like, it made me laugh, it made me smile, just the way she pulled me out of that as her character. I don't know, it was fun. It was a very, very truthful moment.
That is by far my favorite moment of the film, and if we had been lip syncing to a backing track, that moment never would have existed.
I think the way that the songs are incorporated into the film are very telling of the arc of the film itself.
Each of the three songs kind of represent each act of the film. You have the introduction, which is Breathe.
When I originally wrote Breathe, I think it had maybe 2 stanzas per verse. It was very short. It didn't really say anything. It was like, I'm in a car, time to go inside. So I'm missing out on an opportunity. I could be telling a story right now. I was able to paint a picture of this person who didn't even show up. If showing up was the bare minimum for a job, this person was already fired. It's just as many analogies for everyone is doing better than me as much as I want to be on top.
Such a startup strategist playing chess with every word. I blow out candles wishing that I was there.
And then there's Alma Mater Musings right in the middle, which really is our send-off to Act 2.
So that song really just became a conversation between 2 people, one who was okay with the attention and one who wanted to give it.
It's very playful. It is definitely just the lightest moment of the film, where even the moments where my character sort of pulls back and gets insecure that I say the wrong thing, it played out when we were filming, we were on set. It was very fun and it was very light, and I was able to, as this character, just laugh at myself without assuming the worst of the situation. It was a lot of fun.
My favorite song, it's got to be the second one. That's the most fun. I feel like it's the first musical type song, and when we heard Josh and Allie singing it, we were like, okay, we actually do have a musical. This isn't just a visual representation of your run-of-the-mill rock band.
I feel like this is everyone's favorite, but my favorite song is Alma Mater Musings because there's such an arc throughout the song, and there's such a journey that the song takes.
What's really interesting with that second song is it kind of has its own 3-act structure within the song itself, where it starts where he's very timid and not so comfortable with singing to her, and then we get this moment where it's joyous, and it's the fantasy element with the dancing, and everybody's happy and things are going well, right before that final turn and final reveal into our narrative 3rd act.
It's an extremely candid moment for one person and just an unfortunate night for another.
Everything I've ever tried to be and not to be.
What is it?
It's not that I don't like the 3rd song, but it's difficult to be like, okay, I got through the first song and then the second song happened and anyone involved was super stoked on it. And then the 3rd song was kind of like, well, how do I come down from the mountain so abruptly without just crashing? He wants to obviously get out of there because he completely exposed himself, expecting her to be okay with that because she more or less gave the cues to do so. And sort of out of embarrassment and defeat, he wants to get back to where he was. Same thing as, if you're at the top of a volcano and you thought about jumping into the volcano, well, if you jumped in and you could somehow get out, you would rather be at the edge of the volcano.
The 3rd song and the title of the film really share this double meaning, this "it's on me." It starts off as who's going to pay the bill, who's responsible for paying the bill, but then it really evolves into this who's going to take the responsibility for the evening, who is responsible for making the other person feel the way they do. She feels responsible for making him feel the way that he currently does, where she maybe should have caught on sooner and realized what he was saying a lot sooner before she took it as far as she did. She was never intentionally leading him on, but in her eyes, she feels like she did. So she's really trying to absolve him of that guilt and say, no, listen, it's on me. I'm sorry that I made you feel this way.
Sorry that I made you feel like this was more than it really is.
Where on the other side, he feels responsible. He feels like he should have known she had a boyfriend. He should have known better than to say all of these things, that he has put her in this completely uncomfortable position, and he really should have just kept these feelings to himself. He's kept them to himself for this long, probably should have just kept them to himself forever.
So that song is sort of a return to where he is at the beginning of the first song.
I feel like the ending is kind of cyclical, where he kind of starts and stops in the same spot. Where he, at the beginning of the film, is kind of having this moment where he's trying to calm himself down. And then again, at the end of the film, he has all of this new knowledge, and I don't think he's any worse off than he was. He definitely isn't better off.
She doesn't end up with he. at the end of the film because, in my opinion, she wants to, but she fights it for the safety of the relationship that she already has. But I know that it's really frustrating to watch someone who is actively giving up something that would be better for them than their current situation.
This interaction has really set them both on different paths to really learn who they are as a person and figure out what is best for them.
We learn from everyone, and we learn from every interaction. And even though fairy tale endings aren't necessarily real, there's always hope, and there's always light at the end of even a dark tunnel.
But I like to think that maybe, it's a bit of a hopeful ending, and it's not just this tragedy.
I think it's easy for musicals to have a happy ending where everyone gets together and gets married and lives happily ever after. And I think this film does a really nice job of not scratching that itch.
I really wanted this film to feel as raw and real as possible, and I felt like it was very easy to just give this a happy ending where we could completely set it up that way. But sometimes reality doesn't always work out the way we thought.
The character of he is talking about just speeding to the end and getting it right, and I think the takeaway, the end of the story, how it all plays out, is that it's just okay to not be okay.
And I think the people that will connect with the ending are realists who are still hopeful.
I think after people see It's On Me, they will hopefully have their own idea of where it's going to go, of whether it's a hopeful story or whether it's sort of a more of a tragic sort of lost cause for these characters. I hope it's polarizing. I think that's always a good thing.
I really couldn't have done this without everybody's help. Everybody just continuously gave 110%. We weren't getting on location until 9 o'clock at night.
1:14.
How we doing?
In the morning.
We're not even outside yet.
But she's spitting bars.
We were filming until 3 o'clock in the morning,
How we feeling?
Tired.
and we were shooting outside in the freezing cold, and everyone was singing and dancing and just maintained this really positive attitude. This film really would not be what it is without any of them.
Cool, that was awesome. It gives you a little bit more time to finish that out and not sacrifice it. Awesome. Yeah, you came in really nice.
What I really respect about Tom is that he knows exactly what he wants.
He had a very clear point of view on what he wanted and let us know that and let us take off and play around.
He has so much respect for music and for the flow of what he's written, and he will really prioritize that, and he's not afraid to tell you if he doesn't like something that you're doing, which I so appreciate as a collaborator.
Very encouraging of bringing ourselves into his music in terms of how our instruments work, and it just felt like a collaboration, which was cool, and he provided a lot of very strong material to work with.
He was really able to take my ideas and elevate them to the next level and really turn this project into something I never thought it was going to be.
As I spread towards the end, I thought that I could cross the line. I guess the answer's no. Not even interesting.
Working with Josh was extremely refreshing. Right out of the gate, he pretty much just left a shell of what I gave him and embellished on it. I mean, listen to the recordings. Still some of the things that he did, I would never have chosen to do myself, which is a great way to take someone else's music and make it your own.
He was really able to take my words on the page and just elevate them to this next level and bring just such truth to them that it just almost didn't seem like he was acting at all.
When you're working with another actor, there is nothing more than you can ask for than to be given something to work off of. And Josh is so generous as a scene partner that he makes everything easy.
It was totally my fault. Guys, don't blame Josh. It was all me. I messed up. Josh is perfect.
Working with Allie, amazing. I think she's a beautiful, incredible actress, and being on set was just effortless. There's a million things, a million gears turning when you're filming, and amidst all the sort of chaos around us, I just felt like a lot of times we'd just be locked in to each other right before a take and just be in it. And yeah, she just gave me so much to work off of, and I really appreciate that.
Allie's role wasn't intended to be this big standout strong role, and Allie just kind of came in and really changed the way that we were going to look at this. She became someone to write for. We had done auditioning before the third song lyrics were even completed, and Allie really elevated that role. Additionally, on set with Allie, there was never a moment when she wasn't having fun. Even when maybe it wasn't the time to, but she made it the time to. And when we were working late hours, it was nice to have somebody who had energy to spare, for sure.
Ali always maintained this really positive attitude on set. Even when we were shooting late hours and everyone was starting to get tired, she was still there cracking jokes and making everybody laugh.
I did look like a slut in high school.
That's in the movie.
I always broke the dress code.
What was really interesting, though, is once I started editing this, I was able to find clips that I didn't realize existed, faces or comments she made to the camera while we were still setting up that I didn't know we caught. And it was a really fun way for me to get to continue to have that same energy throughout the editing process.
The funniest person to work with on set was me. Moving on.
What were you
And we really had a lot of fun in filming a musical film. So it's been such a musical process to film a musical film. And it's been short, but it's really been musical.
To be out here in new places, with people I've never met before, and all of a sudden we're here together for a weekend and just working so closely together, it's very special. Really, I don't take for granted why we're doing this and why we love what we do. All independent artists coming together, bringing all their skills to just tell a story, have fun, make something beautiful.